Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the latest instalment of our monthly CarpFix Live. And just quickly, before I get on with it, we've had a little bit of trouble with the cameras steaming up or misting up. So we've got a small heater sort of humming in the background under one of the cameras, trying to rectify the problem. So once the camera sorted itself out, we'll turn that fan off and get that humming noise away. But just for the meantime, I'm going to kick things off talking about our recent session. Sorry, hang on, actually, I forgot the most important bit. The main purpose of the CarpFix Live is to answer you, the members' questions. So in a minute, I'm going to start talking about what we've been up to over the last couple of weeks and whatnot. But whilst I'm doing so, get your questions in, all things carp fishing related, whether it be location, tactics, baiting, rigs, whatever it may be, campaigns coming up, maybe about our films, whatever you would like it to be. So get your questions in. And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to talk about our most recent session to Berners Hall. Now, I saw that Neil Spooner had been there probably a week or so ago now, caught 40 and a few others. And we were thinking of venues to go with Tom Stokes. I don't quite remember exactly how. 1 minute Scott was going to film Tom up north somewhere, and the next minute we were having a CarpFix Christmas social over at Berners Hall. But long story short, we booked 4 places with Callum, got 4 slots on there. It was busy. Obviously, it's been in really, really good form, Berners, of late. And for those of you that don't know Berners Hall, it's 20 odd acres. I think it's 23 to 25, I think. I'm just guessing. Might be a little bit bigger than that, maybe. It's rectangular in shape with an island in it. And it's a reservoir where the water goes up and down. During the summer months, it's siphoned out to water the fields, I imagine. And the level lowers down. But it's got an incredible stock of carp. When I say incredible, the owner, Andy, was saying to me that he thinks there's roughly 700 carp inside. But of those 700, there's at least 40 40s. But they've lost count of it because there's so many new ones coming through. And I think there might be as many as 50 different 40s, which it is a day ticket, but it's also an exclusive booking venue. Like, for the most part, from sort of March through to November time, it's fully booked with exclusive bookings. And then in the winter, when it's not so booked out, you can get on there as a day ticket. And like we say, we've seen it been fishing well, knew there was loads of bigger fish in there, and just thought, we'll give it a go. And I remember I walked up the hill first thing in the morning. There was a bloke in peg 1, he'd caught 3. Didn't actually talk to him on the first pass, sort of just went past him, walked up the bank because I'd heard there was fish coming out down the far end. And we saw, as soon as I got there, before I even got the buckets down, seen a couple of fish jump, seen a couple of fish get caught. And then on the way back, having like bucketed a swim, on the way back to the car, I spoke to the guy in peg 1. He'd caught 3 as well. And normally in the winter, the fish are condensed. They're usually in one part of a lake, balled up. That's what you expect in the winter. But that wasn't the case at Berners. They were obviously in smaller groups and not, but people were all around the lake. Not everyone, but a lot of people were catching. And multiple bites. There was fish showing all over the lake. And from the absolute get-go, there was me in peg 1, Scott in peg 2, Stokesy in peg 4. There was a guy in peg 3 between us to start with. And then Ash was in peg 5. That was the first night. And then the guy in peg 3 left. Tom Dove dropped in there. And then Spooner went further down to the left. But like I say, it was hectic from the get-go. We were all bait boat fishing, like maggots in the bait boat, rig in the bait boat. I was using crumb and hemp as well, sending it out sort of 27 wraps I was. Quite a bit of weed out there, waiting for the weed to stop, carry on driving a bit further to see where the weed starts again, and you get a rough gauge of how wide your little clear spot is. Particularly in my swim, it was a little bit shallower there. It was sort of 5 foot out in front of peg 1 at that sort of range, nearly like the edge of a plateau. And I could even see the fish on the echo sounder. I could see the fish under the boat. First day, Scotty didn't fish. He was just filming me getting sorted and whatnot. And I caught two. I had a 27 and a 25, and then just on dark, I had a 44-pound common. So like, I've only been there a few hours, caught a 44-pound common, and for me, I was made up at that point. But Scott, once it got dark, Scott got his rods out, and then the following morning,
all hell broke loose.
All hell broke loose. Like
for everybody, really.
It was crazy. I had one just before it got light, and then Scott had all three of his rods go.
Yeah,
and we were just struggling to film them all. And why do you think he's fishing so well? Well, that's because for me, like I said, I've already said it in this little chat, is like normally fish are localised in the winter. Normally, it can be tricky for like there'll be one person on them and the rest will be suffering, and that wasn't the case. Why do you think they were so spread, and why were they eating so much?
Well, this is the thing. This is my question as well. I like you just said, I put my rods out when it was dark, and I purposely put them a rod length in distance. So I did 20, 26, 27, 28 wraps. This is in 13-foot wraps.
Yeah.
And I spread them out, and I didn't have any horizon to go off. I could just see the faintest of like where the dip in the tree was, and that's where I went first. And then I probably went 50 yards to the left and 50 yards to the left, and I had bites on all of them. And I was then, if I had a bite, I was going to fine tune it and kind of go to one area, but which is how Spooner ended up fishing after, and I think he normally does that. But I don't know whether having my rods so far apart, and I did that all the way through, actually helped me out. Because someone made a point today, actually, that maybe it worked in your favour and you were getting so many quick bites one after the other because the fish weren't getting disturbed in those.
That's a possibility. Yeah,
I mean, you could have had bites real tight together, but you were just fishing on one spot, were you?
Yeah, mine were fairly tight. I would say there's like maybe 6 foot between each of my rigs, like something like that. Maybe a little bit more, 6 to 10 foot.
But I wasn't just putting it out there. I was using my echo sounder, and I was looking for that. There was very minute on a couple of the lines. There was a little tiny little plateaus, like talking like goes up half a foot.
Yeah.
But you could see it was a lot firmer. Like the line was real solid.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. But I just clipped up like you did at set clips, and on those clips there was just it just seemed good. Like, and
when you're saying about that solid line, that basically a solid line on an echo sounder, what that is, that's it's like it's showing how crisp the return on the echo is. The echo sending the pulse down. It's showing a crisp line because it's bouncing back pure to the receiver. But my theory is the weather's good, so it's quite mild, so they're not just sat torpid. When it gets, when you get frosted and lots of frost, water goes down to 5 degrees. Fish sort of go a bit like sardines in a can. They all ball together. They're a bit torpid, not really moving much, and that's zig fishing conditions generally.
yeah.
But my take on it is maggots aren't allowed all year round, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
They only allow them in the winter, so they become a bit of a. They like become a new bait suddenly.
Yeah.
And a new bait is always a good bait, and because they're new, everyone gets on them, and the lake's always busy. So there's maggots out in all of the swims, and people are bait boating, so they're not filling the boat full of maggots. They're just putting a handful in, and they're just little pockets of maggots all around the lake, and they're on them.
Yeah.
Like they're like literally grazing around that lake, and there's so much angling pressure, line pressure, fish getting caught. It keeps them moving. They're just moving around, finding maggots. No one's there for ages, fishing the same spots. Everyone's finding new spots. It's just, I think the weather was the main thing. The water level. I think that's quite big.
I think that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, the water level being down obviously condenses the fish a little bit.
The temperature is totally different to what it probably normally is, and the fish are going to be happier being lower down, whereas they'd normally be halfway up potentially, like you say. At this time,
they can't miss the bait as well. They're like literally running into it.
Yeah.
So I think it's an incredible venue. It's.
You see why it's booked up so much.
Yeah, and for winter fishing, I think it ticks so many boxes. Obviously, if Bernard's got any negatives, is that when the wind comes, it's powerful up there, isn't it? Because it's on the top of a mound. You got to, if it's going to be real windy, you got to peg yourself down and be ready for some.
It was funny. I don't know if you were there. Were you there when Dovey came down? Has anyone seen my unhooking mat?
Yeah, blown away.
I don't know where it's gone, and it was literally right in the corner where that, I don't know what it is, pump or whatever it is.
Yeah,
it was right in that corner.
Yeah,
like floated down, but like either flew over us or
probably went in the water.
Yeah, and then luckily didn't wipe anyone out. But yeah, it was a good session. It makes, this is the good thing about going somewhere like that. Even though we caught so many, if I'd caught less, it would make me still want to. I want to go back or go. I just want to go fishing again.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get, your little dopamine hit from catching fish, which is why we all go.
Yeah.
And because you're getting multiple takes, you're thinking it's worth going. You know, and I'll tell you another thing I didn't mention is it was mostly day bites.
Yeah.
I could see myself going down there even when it's freezing cold. Like I mean, when it's not fishing very well, because there's so many fish in there. I think you could catch them on zigs when they're not really having it. Because I think Andy said they will start to fill the water level up soon. I think I don't know when it is, but I think fairly soon they put the water level up. And I think when you get those sort of real, when it goes frosty and the highs of 4 or 5s each day, those conditions aren't good conditions. They're like zig. You need to be exactly in the right spot because the fish will be like sardines all grouped together. But on the flip side, Berners being on that hill, as soon as that mild weather comes, you get the wind on the surface, it turns the water over quickly, the temperature lifts and the fish start feeding. So it probably is the ultimate winter water, really.
A great thing is it's because it's so open as well, you can quite easily see where might be a good spot to go to. You're not like having to, like you can see every part of the water.
Yeah,
that's a real a key as well. But do you think if we went there with no naturals, so no maggots, we would have still had the same result? And that's if you could do it, look at it both ways. If the whole lake wasn't allowed naturals, do you think it would still fish like that?
No. Do you know why I say that? Is because the fish were passing them, and every fish I caught was maggots were coming out of their vent on the mat. We weren't retaining them. We had them in landing nets for a while at times, but we weren't like retaining them overnight. And they were every fish was passing maggots. So I don't think we'd have the same result on. I'm in my bait boat. I had a handful of hemp, handful of crumb, handful of maggots. And you can never say with 100% certainty because you can't. But I do the fact that every fish was passing maggots. Yeah. That I think you can't get any more confident in what you're doing. If the fish are it's like trout fishing when they in the old days they used to cut them open to see what they've been eating and stuff. It's if it's passing out their end, they're eating it. Yeah. And that's why I have so much confidence in tiger nuts. Because I always see them coming out the other end in the slings and whatnot. But what about these questions then?
Should we have a look? I'm sure we do. Oh, we've got quite a few actually.
Good.
Right, let's have a look. Daniel Hockaday, who is your carp angler of the year? Also, what do you prefer, the new mainline nutbait or the IsoSweet? I didn't know many people knew about the IsoSweet.
IsoSweet has been in the going since 2019.
Is it the red one?
Yeah, but it wasn't red before. So it originally,
was it like a beigey colour?
It was like a peachy colour. Beigey.
I remember I've seen Dan use it.
Yeah, and you've seen Ali use it as well back in the day. But apparently, obviously, they've got to get it into Europe, and the dye that was in it originally wasn't permitted in Europe. Right. So to make the same, because you don't want to send the bait to Europe, it's got a different colour, because they'll think they're getting a watered down version, won't they? If you had two different baits. Yeah. So they had to change the colour into it. So I had it for the first time in a long time recently, and it's bright red, like strawberry red, like that colour. Yeah. I haven't actually used the nut bait yet, but I've smelt it, I've seen it. It smells very peanutty. I think it will be good. I know people that have done really well on it, but I haven't used it a lot. I tend to always buy sell.
Yeah.
Well, not buy sell, but get sell. And I have used Essential Sell. And I just struggle to always try new ones, but I purposely got IsoSweet recently because I wanted to try something different. And I will try that peanut one as well, for sure.
I think that Rob might have been using that on a couple of the films recently
Right,
that
okay.
we've done, potentially. Yeah. I'm pretty sure one
The
of them
peanut
I
one's
went...
fairly new, as in I think
yeah.
yeah, it's only been in, like, I started to hear about it in September.
Right.
But like I say, IsoSweet's been going a very long time.
Yeah.
What was the other part to that question? It was a two-part. Wasn't
Who is your carp angler of the year?
Stokesy.
Yeah.
I know Elliot's done one through Sipography with like the other Like, I'm going to be completely honest. Like Angling Times, like, bear in mind, I'm saying this as someone who actually won it last year. Right, it's the biggest fraud in the whole game. Right, the whole point of this Carp Angler of the Year thing is what they do is they get you who they put people in who have got a lot of followers. They ask you to share it with your following to get people to vote. To vote, you have to give your email address to Angling Times. Email address, then Angling Times then have loads of email addresses to then spam your followers with their marketing, which Elliot has obviously very quickly jumped onto the back of as well, right? And yeah, it is what it is. Obviously, there's probably anglers out there that have had great seasons that no one's heard of. And yeah, I don't know. I don't follow closely enough who actually deserves it, do you know, to be honest. But Tom's my friend. He's a fucking good angler, and he had a fantastic year. Has he had the best year compared to everyone else? I don't know. But he's my
That's the thing. There's so many anglers that prefer to remain anonymous, and
probably having great seasons as well.
Yeah.
And but because they haven't got a following, Angling Times won't put them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can see why they put the names forward that they do.
Yeah. Share this with your followers. We want their email addresses. We want to spam them.
It's just a data capture.
Yeah, that's
data capture of the year.
Yeah, that's what it should be called. Data capture of the year. Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, right. Isaac in Canada. Hello, fellows from Canada. Happy holidays to you both. Wishing you all the best. There's no question. That's it. Lewis Bunting. What was the going tactics on burners, bait approach, and hooks and bait? I mean, we've covered it briefly, but you can...
Okay, so yeah, my bait boat had hemp as the base, like one handful in the hopper, handful of crumb, two handfuls of maggots. Rig was a combi multi-rig, half a cut down salty squid 12mm wafter, so half a pink wafter with 12 maggots sewed on the top. I think having the maggots sewed onto the rig was probably important. I think everyone that was doing well was doing that. But what about you? What did you...
Basically the same. Well, not really. Kind of the same. The baiting approach was very similar. I didn't have hemp.
You had crumb and maggot.
Yeah, so I had crumb, maggot, and I had sweet corn in there.
Yeah, sweet
and
corn.
I put some of the sweet corn smart liquid as well. So I gave it soaked for a little while, for the day before it soaked, which I think might have made a difference. I was putting a little bit of it out. You don't know. I think the maggots probably was the biggest thing. Red and white maggots, and then I was using a spinner rig, so I wasn't fishing on the deck like you.
Fishing pop-up.
I was fishing spinner pop-up. Yeah, I was fishing standard spinner rig, and just a little yellow pop-up, and then maggots on the top. Yeah.
I had a really good session at Burners before in February, fishing maggots, hemp, and crumb, but with hinge rigs over the top, without maggots on the hook, and caught really well.
Yeah.
So
that was going to be my other
on
question.
CarpFix,
if you went there and still used maggots, but just put like a
normal rig,
just a normal rig,
with a normal bait.
Yeah.
Well, Spooner said to me, and others have said to me in the past, that they really think that when you're using naturals, that you should have them on the hook as well. They really think that makes a difference. And I think they've heard that, they've fished themselves, but they've also heard it from Tom Maker, who fishes like that quite a lot as well. Whereas I've quite often gone the other way. Like my standard tactic would be to fish the maggots, but to fish something crude over the top.
Yeah.
Just so that, mainly because it's dirty, sewing those maggots on.
Yeah, it's horrible.
But also I do feel there's a little bit in it, as in like a big greedy one will eat a boilie when everything else is getting eaten by lots of other fish. I just feel that there'll be a situation when a big one comes in and just smashes the blatant bait.
Yeah. If we were there longer, I would have
Experimented.
Yeah, if we had like the rest of the day, because you have to be off there at 10, don't you? But if we had the rest of the day, that would have been quite interesting to see if it would have changed anything.
Yeah. The thing is, when you catch, I always think when you're catching loads of fish, you don't need to change anything.
No.
You know,
Well, I would have just done it as just to see.
Yeah.
Like just as an experiment.
Yeah.
But so that was it. So wafter style, pop up style doesn't make too much difference.
But a couple of handfuls of bait in the boat.
Yeah.
And I think obviously the bait boat is you can obviously spawn, but it's just not as efficient. Do you know what I mean? Like not splashing, not miscasting. Every time you drop it, it all lands together. It's like it's just. I think it's so deadly at this time of year when you're fishing small amounts of bait. I think it's just so deadly when delivered with a bait boat.
Yeah. Like I went there actually with every intention of spomming out.
Yeah.
Like I was, quite happily going to just spom out. And then the wind was quite strong. And then I saw everybody else was putting it out with a bait boat. So I thought, why not? And it was dark and I could use the echo sounder to try and give me...
Mate, that was, perfect.
Yeah. So it's... Yeah, hopefully that helps you a little bit. If you're going, good luck. Who have we got? We've got Ian Fitzgerald. What do you look for when picking a syndicate lake?
It's generally the fish. Generally, the first thing is you see a fish online. You are on social media. You see a fish. You think, "Cool, I'd like to catch that." But the trouble is, when you do that, if it's a big fish, people are already on the syndicate, and I'm finding it more and more and more difficult to get the tickets that I want. And I'm not good enough brown nose to be sliding around, getting in everyone's DMs and doing whatnot. But generally it comes from seeing some fish on social media and then doing a little bit of research, finding out where they are, finding out if you can get a ticket. That's generally what happens. Or sometimes people will mention it to you. Have you seen this lake? Have you seen about these fish? And then you go about it that way. But that's generally how I go about it.
Beautiful. Lee Nelson. Good evening, lads. I fish layer pits. All I catch is 18 to 20 pound fish. I'm struggling to catch the bigger carp. Have you any tips to help me catch the bigger carp in there?
Not really. I think obviously the vast majority of fish in layer are that size. We went there ourselves a little while ago and made a film and caught loads of 18 to 20 pound fish, or even smaller, like 14 to 20 pound fish. Obviously there are in there, and you just the more you catch, the more the odds are that you'll catch something bigger. If you fish straight boilies and you don't spawn hemp and crush boilies and all of that, I do think you'll catch a better average stamp, but your rods will remain quiet, much quieter. You'll catch much less if you fish straight boilies, but you might average slightly bigger. My advice would be, if you obviously live somewhere relatively close to layer, Berners isn't that far for you, lads. Yeah. And obviously you've got to go to the right places to catch the big fish. Like, that's the most important thing. Fish the lakes where they swim, and you'll catch them. Scott's fishing at Grenville, only been there a few times this year, caught a 56 pounder. Like we went to Grenville one time, I caught Berners one time, I caught a 40 pounder. I took my friend to Comberley Carp Fisheries the week after we filmed there for CarpFix. He'd never caught a 30, he caught a 45 pounder. So that's the biggest thing. You target the lakes with lots of big fish in, get some bites, and the big ones will be amongst them. That's the
I think out of the first first six bites I had on that first morning, 5 of them were 30s.
Yeah.
So that's like, surround yourself with the higher average, and you won't go far wrong. Because layer, I don't think there can't be that many above like 25 pounder.
There probably are. They're probably 100 or more.
Yeah, you just can't get through to them.
You're talking thousands of carp.
It's like piranhas, like when we went, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know I don't know if they spawn in there successfully, but I never fished nowhere where they attack the spawn. Yeah. And I don't mean just eating at the bottom of it. I mean like pushing it out the water and along the surface, because they're trying to get every last crumb out of it.
I've seen it on B1 at Linear, when we did like a thinking tackle for Corda or something.
Yeah.
Dan was spodding out, and you could see the fish just coming under and just going through the cloud.
Yeah.
So I've seen it like that, but they were literally like eating the.
But if you fish those lakes that are just seeing spoms land all the time, they just get used to it, and they stop getting scared. They start to realise that the bait falling is free, and then they start eating it. But I generally think the carp that eat out of spoms are starving. That's my thought process. If you're fishing anywhere, you don't fish anywhere tricky, and they do that.
Yeah. The Mexican road sweeper.
That's a good name.
Yeah, not had that one before. I've got loads of confidence in the Snowman presentation and wondered if you had tried it with the Combi multi-rig.
Yeah.
Behaves like a wafter, so shouldn't have any issues with the hook position.
Definitely. I fished double tiger, which is a bit like a Snowman, a balanced double tiger on it lots and lots of times. If you go back and watch the... I can't remember. Me and Scott went to Three Islands Lake in February, and he cast out a little pineapple cell snowman on the multi-rig and caught. I would definitely recommend. It's perfect, basically. The snowman presentation is perfect for that rig because it's all you're trying to do is get a rig that's got some buoyancy to it, so it sort of allows it to fold out. You want the hook bait to stand up because it sort of hovers over the hook. So yeah, it's the perfect presentation for that rig.
Yeah. We've had a French question from De Moulin, and I've translated it. The question is translating to, what do you think of... let me go back onto me so people can see. What do you think of Lac de Deux Chanticoq with its carp weighing over 40 kilos?
It's up there for me. That's one of the few things in carp fishing that I haven't done yet that I would really, really like to do. One of the few venues. I've got a little bit of sort of nostalgia with it. When I was a kid, there was a video called Ton Up at Lake de Deux, and it was amazing for me to see people catching, like back then 30 pounders was super rare, and you could go there and just catch 30 of them in a day. But now, obviously, since the big fish kill, the fish that went in and killed them have gone on to be monsters. But the biggest thing for me is I struggle with the idea of having to book a swim, because I know it's very difficult to get the good swims. They go really, really quickly. Until you dip your toe in and do it, it's just something that it's another thing that you want to do. But until you've done it, it always seems like there's some sort of barrier. But yeah, I would absolutely love to fish through there. So if you get a really nice swim, and you'd like someone, because it's double swim, and you'd like to share it with me, then get in touch and we'll bring the cameras, and hopefully we can have a few
Stellas.
Well,
oh no, you don't. What is it like Guinness?
On the old Guinness these days.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy place. Beer, boobs and techno. Evening, gents. A question about the effectiveness of old bait. I've collected various pop-ups over the years. Do they lose their effectiveness over time? I found a tub of Heathrow baits, Indian spice the other day. Will they still be usable? If they are, could you pimp them up or leave them as they are? Also, the same goes for dried particles. Do they have a lifespan?
Okay, so pop-ups first. This happens all the time. I don't want to say all bait companies do it, but I think a lot of the time with pop-ups, they roll the pop-ups with a low amount of flavour in it, quite a low level of flavour. And then once they're finished, I think they tend to just add a little few drips to the finished batch, so that the outer layer has got that sort of fragrant punchiness, like when you sniff them straight out the tub. But I think over time that evaporates, and then you're left with a pop-up that's got not much flavour in it. Now, will it work like that? Absolutely. But pimping them up is probably the best way to go. Just you can get flavours, you can get sweeteners. Use a little combination, like generally 2 to 1. Like I'd make a combination that would be like 2 mil flavour, 1 mil sweetener, which is 3 mil, and just 1 mil of that solution into 1.5 mil of that solution into a tub of pop-ups, shaking them up will give them that sort of revive them, but they'll work as they are, because a lot of time pop-ups are taken as lures. But you can certainly pimp up old stale pop-ups. You can definitely do that. you got to remember the fish aren't eating the pop-up. Their own, like it goes in their mouth, they get hooked. It's just the lure, a pop-up, really.
And particles?
Particles. I think that the biggest thing with them is if they get damp, then they will go mouldy before you've used them, before you get round to using them. I don't know. When you go into the farm shops where I've got hemp from in the past, the hemp that tends to have a sell-by date on it. So I would look for that. I tend to want it fresh. I certainly wouldn't feel confident using really like bait that had been in my garage for like a couple of years or something. But I would definitely use bait that from the previous year. If I'd bought bait in the summer, hadn't used it by the following year, I would definitely use it if it was within date and that it hadn't got damp and gone mouldy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Right, Zigga Zigman. Does the sliding mechanic of a blowback rig, D-rig, offer better anti-eject properties and hooking potential compared to classic fixed hair rig?
I think anti-ejection properties are neither here nor there. I think like a carp only gets hooked, in my opinion, when the hook point catches. So the hook link has to tension to some degree for that hook point to catch in the mouth. I think if the carp wants to blow it out before the hook point catches, it spits it out because its mouth is a filtration system. It's pretty powerful. I think maybe with a stiff hinge rig, if the fish comes down it can't blow it out because it's already right up in its neck like that. I think maybe that is anti-eject, but just because you've got a sliding ring on the back of a D, if you think the hook's going to stay in a fish's mouth and just the bait's going to come out, I really, really don't think that's the case. I think that's when it's called a blowback rig. I just think it's a name. Don't think of it. It can't be blown out because it can definitely be blown out. Definitely.
Cool. Right, we've got one here from John Dempsey. For someone returning to carp fishing after a 3-year hiatus, if you had to start again, what would be essential kit that you cannot do without?
Right, things that would imagine I was fishing and I lost something, that I'd feel lost without. That's what I'm trying to think of, right? So if I lost my eyepiece for checking my hook points, that would really bother me. Like I would be really bothered if I was in session somewhere I really cared about what I was catching and I couldn't check my hook points. I would lose confidence if I didn't have that eyepiece. So that would be right up there. So would the little sharpening stone from Jag that I use all the time. They're my absolutely essentials, and I use it every time on every hook before I cast out. You don't worry about it. You catch plenty when you.
And I do when I'm fishing Grenville. I'm a bit more yeah. But if there's certain hooks I've been getting out of the pack, especially some ESP ones. Honestly, they are so sharp.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not like so much.
So they're two things that I would say that you absolutely must have. Essentials that you have to have. Yeah, I would say obviously that I use that combi multi rig because that's my go-to rig and my stiff hinge rig.
What about like a line? Like if you were going to use one line for just entry level fishing, because obviously there's all different lines, casting lines, etc.
I'd probably use that Kaizen line.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one David and the spooner bang on about that .38 one.
Yeah.
I do tend to use specific line. Hang on, I'm going to sneeze. I do tend to use specific lines for every situation.
Yeah.
I do because I can, and I've got all the spools and I've got the rods and all of that. But if I just had one set of rods, one set of reels, going to a few different venues, and I didn't want to chop and change, I would just go with a standard mono in probably .38 because it's quite versatile. So yeah, I'd probably use that Kaizen, which is the £18 .38 if I had just one line.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most user friendly.
Yeah.
Obviously tapered line, once you lose the leader, you've got to reverse your reel.
Yeah.
And then you're using a thinner line than perhaps you want to. Fluorocarbon, it's not really good in weedy situations. It's sinking down into the weed and stuff. So yeah, I'd probably go for a more general purpose line.
Cool. Right. Isaac has asked, have you found the shot on the hook has increased your catch rate if you've adopted it?
Danny asked me that when I told him that I'd been using the shot on the hook. It's like his first question was, he goes, do you think you're catching more as a result of using that? And I'm like, how is that possible to know? Without the underwater, you got no sort of, it's really, really hard to answer that. But what I can tell you is my hook holds are more consistent, as in their positioning. Like, and I hardly lose any fish on the multi-combi rig anyway. It's a really good hook to land ratio rig. But I was quite commonly catching them in the scissors, particularly when the rig is fresh and the braid is a little bit stiff when the fibres in it are quite fresh. But with that shot, I'm getting more consistent, not always plumb in the middle, but they're always in the bottom of the lip rather than in the side. And I know, like when I use the size 4 version, which I rarely do, I really noticed it with that. Really, really noticed it. But I've been using it ever since we went to Gigantica in August for the CarpFix shoot. I've used it pretty much exclusively since then. I can't say I've lost any more fish than I did before, which is the most important thing for me. But I have noticed the hook holds look even more secure.
Yeah. I guess you got to look over a period of time, but you go more than most, so you probably...
Yeah, that's why I'm so difficult to change something. When I'm already happy with what I was doing, and it was only when I caught Fred using the size 4 version, he was hooked in the top lip like a roach. And I was thinking, that is not right. You know, that is not how it should be. So yeah, I decided,
something's got to change.
Yeah.
Cool. Isaac also said, lost my fishing mate in March and it's made fishing not quite the same. Went to the lake after his celebration of life and caught the most carp out of that lake in all the years I fished. Felt him smiling down on me and giving me some of his luck.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Well
Jack Sexton, you planning doing much over Blasford this winter?
Maybe. We generally go to Blasford like once in the winter, don't we? Normally go over there and make a film. My friend Nat from the gym, he's going over there in the next week or so. I reckon we'll be over there probably for a January or a February film, I'd imagine. But I definitely want to get back to Burners as well. I know I can tell Scott's got the feeling for it too.
The day sessions is it's got me. It's not far, and you can just go for the day.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it.
We need to get Ash to come like again, and we need to catch him a fish because it was a bit. Like we caught loads, and I felt for him at the end. I felt a bit.
I said to him, "Why didn't you go where I went?" He said, I just kept walking, going next.
No, because he was going to be. He'd been next to Stokesy, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's where a lot of fish were showing as well. Yeah. So he probably thought he was quids in,
weren't we? It was like an angler and a cameraman together.
Yeah.
So that's why he went with Stokesy. You know? I let Stokesy pick.
Yeah.
Stokesy picked there. I picked where I picked, and you ended up in 2, which is one of the favourite swims.
I don't know how.
When I turned up, no one was in swim 2 as well. Like of all the swims on the lake, swim 2 is probably the most famous because there's a video of Tom Maker on YouTube. If you type in Burners, one of the first films that comes up is Tom Maker at Burners, and it's in Peg 2.
Right.
And there's a couple of films on YouTube in Peg 2. So
yeah, I think you fished.
I have. We fished there before, but I was casting in front of Peg 1.
Right.
But I think I couldn't believe it when we rocked up. It was rammed and Peg 2 was free.
Yeah.
But apparently there'd been guys in there the day before. Apparently there'd been a pair in there.
Just doing a day or something, isn't it?
They'd moved at the end of their session to go in there. But yeah, that's on my radar for the next few weeks when we get back after Christmas. Is Burners is on my radar, Farlow's is on my radar, but we'll do one at Blasford. And we'll set the road lake is been open for the first time this winter in France, and I think that's closes in February. And I like to go to Gigantica, get fed by the bailiffs, and then have a whole lake to myself. I quite like that, Buzz. Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan, that.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look. Stephen Welsh. Merry Christmas, guys. This question goes to both of you. Do you favour using the same size boilies and flavour, or do you think mixing the sizes and flavours together works better, all the best for 2026?
It's really hard to say that, right? Really, like impossible to know for sure, because there's probably different situations where different things work. You know, I regularly fish tigers and boilies, or hemp and corn, or hemp tigers. You know, it's like regularly fishing a mix. But my favourite way to fish is when I know I'm using the right thing and just using that. So like, I love fishing straight sweet corn when I know, like, when it's working. I love fishing straight tigers when it's working. I love fishing 10 mil cell, like just as 10 millers. So yeah, I prefer, because once I'm 100% confident in that I've got the right thing on, you want to mimic. You just want, you feed it and have it on the hook.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the best way.
Yeah.
Like when you surface fish, it's very obvious. Like when you feed your mixers out there, if you get your hook bait right,
Yeah.
you get more takes, and it's critical if your hook bait is mimicking what they're taking.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing. If you've got them really eating something, you want your hook bait to mimic that. I know there's times like in the underwater when they've shown that having loads of bait out there and a pink one over the top, they just hammer it. They just take that one.
Yeah.
But I think that's open to debate, as in, like, sometimes it's the right thing, sometimes it's not. But I think if you've got them eating something, then you just got to mimic that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly have never mixed flavours. I've never done that. Mixed colours.
I've done it, but I've never thought it was an edge.
No.
I've seen in the magazines people go, oh yeah, I've got dumbbells, I've got 10 mils,
Yeah.
I've got 15s, and they've got different baits, and
Yeah.
maybe certain fish like certain ones. Like Ali always used stuff like that. Used fish like he called it, what's he called it when you got a load of food out? What do they call it? Banquet.
Banquet,
Yeah. He goes, like, you got banquet out there. There's like, some of them might like this, some of them might like that.
They probably call something banquet, so you know.
Yeah.
Same. I have done quite a bit in the past. So had mixed sizes, but like you say, I do it when I'm spomming out. Like if you're catapulting out, you need the same size.
Yeah.
Marco, evening. My spom tends to open in the air at the first part of the cast. Any advice to avoid this? Are you at Den Bosch?
Right. That is a problem with the spoms, as in, like,
you.
Sometimes you can get bait jammed in the mechanism, and if you get bait jammed in the mechanism, the clip doesn't quite catch on the hook, and then it will open in the air. Sometimes when they've been really well used, that little hook bit that catches the clip, again, that can get worn down and come loose. I would say if it's happening to you regularly, I would check that you've got no bait in the clip just when you're loading it up. But if it's still happening, you've just got a bad one, and you just need to get a new one. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I concur.
You have ones that behave really well, and then one will just be, it's just not quite right. You know, do you remember we found one at Leia?
Yeah,
I found a spot.
It was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I had it for years. I had this big spot on my rod. It had this guy's initials all up the side of it. And that.
TJ something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I had it for years. It was a brilliant one, but
probably because he used it once, and that was.
But at the same time, I bought brand new ones, and then they've just been an absolute pain in the backside for some reason.
Patrick, any first tips for moving onto more difficult venues?
Yes, like my number one tip for fishing really hard lakes is to scale your kit down to the absolute bare essentials. And I mean absolute, like, get it all out in your garden, like your bed chair. Picture what exactly you cannot do without. Like, just ask yourself, do I have to have this with me? If the answer is no, put it in a little clip top box that's going to stay in your car. Shred everything down and just be hyper focused when you're fishing on seeing fish and getting into that swim, regardless of what bait you put out, where the wind's blowing. You know, you might start a session because you haven't seen anything, going on the end of the wind, finding a spot and spomming it up. But on the really hard lakes, the most important thing is being exactly where you need to be. And the more stuff you carry, the more or the less inclined you will be to react to stuff. You're weighed down. Like when you've got frying pans and dirty saucepans and all of that out, the more stuff that you've got, like when I see data kit anglers with their tripods set up with scales hanging off it and that, I just think that once you've put that house up, that bivvy table up, that weigh station, your cooking station, you ain't moving. And that's not, the really difficult lakes are all about location and being in the right spot. And if you minimise your kit, you're fishing on an opportunist approach, you'll do well.
I would also say don't do an alley. I love Ali, like he's a great guy. But when we used to go on some of the fishing filming trips, like Monster Carp, Big Fish Off, all of those, he literally used to. It felt like order one of everything off the Corda B2B site, put it in a cardboard box, and bring it just to his bivvy, like to the bank, and it would be there. And it's like he'd be rifling through stuff, like finding stuff, like he's organised but not organised.
Yeah.
And it's
so
like
he's obviously working a really busy job, and then he knows he's going on this shoot, and you've got to have everything just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
So that's and when you do it like that, it has to do it like that.
Yeah.
Whereas I would be like, go down the lines of, I only use combi multi-rigs when it's clear, and I only use stiff hinge rigs when I'm not sure. So I'd have some of them in a box and the components to retie them. Yeah. And that is it.
Yeah.
You know, like I only need, those 2 rigs are going to cover, I might have some zig kit. If I say I'm going, I might have a zig kit on the side as well, you know, but I really try and, it's packing for those like those maybes. Because what happens when I go from one lake to a new one is I think I might need this, and I take that from my spares equipment, put it into my main bag, and before you know it, you're like.
And I guess over time, like the more you become familiar with a lake, say like Burners now, I know exactly. I could bring a tiny percent. I could almost go now on the bank there with like a couple, like the rigs on the rods ready, and then a couple of spares, and then that is it. Yeah. And you could go with such minimum. I wouldn't even need a carry-all.
Yeah. In the old days, like before I was a sponsored angler, well, I was a sponsored angler, but I wasn't on films all the time. I used to keep everything in a clip-top box that you'd get from Tesco's. So a little square one. And I had a Fitness First rucksack, which is like the free one you get when you join. And I had a pot of pop-ups, a clip-top box, my mat and my scales, and my buzzers, and that was it. Yeah. You know, that was me. Yeah. Like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a tackle box this big.
Now I can't see over my wheelbarrow.
Oh dear. Right, that went on a bit. But anyway. Where are we going? Okay, Mark. What amount of bait would you introduce into your swim at this time of year once you know fish are in the area?
I think if you're spomming, for example, I think half a dozen to 8 spoms is a good amount over a couple of free rods. To like, if you're unsure, if it's really tough going, but like if we went to Burners and I wasn't using the bait boat. In the bait boat, it's like a few handfuls. But if I had to spom it wouldn't be quite so accurate, and I'd be trying to spot. I'd probably go with 12 spoms to start, maybe 15. 12 to 15 is my opening line of attack, and after a bite, I might put out 4 to 6 more. But if I had a flurry of bites, let's say I had 4 bites over the 12, like in quick succession, I would be like, right, I'm going to put another 8 out, you know, another 10 out, you know, just, I tend to judge it by how accurate they are. If I once I've got 4 or 5 exactly where I want on the top up, I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Alex has asked, hi guys, I fish a lake with a very silty lake bed. How deep do you reckon silt can go? Should I worry about the entire rig being buried?
If it's really soft and really silty and your lead is jammed in the bottom all of the time, then you really need to be fishing rigs specifically designed to fish over that sort of lake bed. No good fishing with a heavy lead on a lead clip with a stiff boom with an anti-tangle sleeve, because it literally could just be ramped out of the lake bed at 90 degrees. So I would advise you fish a helicopter rig. I would advise, if you don't fish a helicopter rig, you use a braided rig, so that your lead can be plummeted in a decent length of braid, allowing it to lay on top. But normally the standard presentation for most guys will be like a rotary style helicopter system with the bead pushed up, or a chod rig. Either of them would be a great option. Light leads as well are another great one in silk, because you a lot of time you're using heavy leads to cast far, or if you're fishing in close, to really set the hook. And if your lead is going to be stuck in the bottom, there's absolutely no need for it to be really heavy, because it's going to get that extra weight from being stuck in the bottom in the first place.
Cool. Richard has asked, what is the biggest gimmick in carp fishing that people should ignore?
The biggest gimmick. Got to be careful here. The biggest gimmick.
It's a tricky one, that.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Like I think people just, in the main, I think people just can't help but spend money on their hobbies and things that they enjoy and they love. For me, okay, I'm going to say it. The thing I think is the bag for the bag that goes inside a bag. Like, people love to look organised, but they like literally, there's a pouch for absolutely everything. And the pouches, if you like, I use 0 pouches. I just like, I'm bang against it. I think it's unnecessary weight that you don't need to carry. And yeah, the bag for the bag that goes inside a bag, I am not about that. Like, I'm absolutely.
It's a good one. Like, yeah. I would probably, yeah. Now you've said it, yeah. A bag for a bag for a bag for a bag.
Do you know what I mean? There's like,
yeah.
It's like I've got a scales pouch.
Yeah,
it's like, but it goes inside here, and it's like inside that, and it's that's.
Yeah, unnecessary. It's very unnecessary.
But people buy it. Do you know? Like, it's like a bank stick bag. Like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean a bank stick bag?
Yeah.
Bank sticks come out muddy all the time.
Yeah.
So I keep, like, I have like a tray on the back of my wheelbarrow handles for muddy stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So that I don't have to like clean it off to put it in. So I've got my tent pegs, my bank sticks, spoms and catapult just in a tray.
Yeah.
And they don't need to, like, I don't need my bank sticks in a bank stick case. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes, you do.
And a buzz bar pouch.
Help you catch more carp.
No. Like, that's just, bags.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Richard's never going to buy a bag for a bag again. The Mexican road sweeper has got another question. The lake I'm fishing has some restrictions on how far you can cast in certain swims. I'm thinking the area around the boundary will be decent starting points, as they will have been targeted. ?
Yes, or a wrap or two further. What you got to think is, like, generally the limit will see bait. But if it's a, like, depends what the boundary's for, right? If the boundary is like somewhere where you're going to cross the middle and go over each other, then you don't, like, there's no point fishing closer to the guy opposite than he is. Do you know what I mean? You're going, if you're both in the middle and you go a wrap further, you're going to be up his lines and you're not gaining any advantage. But on the flip side of that, if there's a boundary with a safe zone behind it, creeping out an extra wrap can make a lot of difference, right? I'll tell you a story. I went to Linear Fisheries on Hardwick once, and there's a swim called the Christmas Tree Swim, and it's got a 10 wrap limit on it. But at 10 wraps, it's also about 25, 30 foot from memory. Like, it was really deep. So by the time you've cast out 10 wraps in 25 foot, it swung back like quite half a rod length probably. Anyway, I clipped up at 11 wraps with a deeper. And I cast this deeper out a wrap further than 10 wraps, and it was just like, it was going ping, 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 and there was fish all underneath it on the echo sound, like hundreds of them. So sometimes just being a little bit further than you should be can be a real edge. I shouldn't be saying it, but it's the truth. But yeah, I don't know the lake you're fishing, and if it's got wrap limits. The easiest way, the easiest cheat code for a wrap limit is to accidentally have 13-foot wraps.
That's definitely what I would be doing.
Because then you just go, I'm fishing 25 wraps, but no one's going to say your wraps are 1 foot longer than they should be.
You got a new float rod, 15-foot float rod.
Yeah, so that's the easiest way to cheat code a wrap limit is just to have an extra foot on your wrap.
Don't take 10-foot rods.
Yeah.
Take 13-foot rods.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. Where am I? Jason Short. When turning up to a lake mid-morning, you don't see anything. What's the best approach for a swim when the lake's uniform and has no features?
When you've got past experience, which will be the best, then you've got intuition, as in weather conditions, like whether the sun's hitting a certain bank because of that, the weather's like that, whether you're on the end of a nice breeze, whether you're on the back of a cold wind. It can be lots of things. It can be loads of people fishing at one end of the lake, and you think they haven't caught anything. Well, I'm going to go and try down the other end. Like what often happens in fishing, one of the most common things that happen is someone has a result, word gets out about said result, everyone flocks to that area, and the fish leave because of the angling pressure. So yeah, you're constantly weighing up every single piece of information and asking yourself, well, I haven't seen anything. Why would they be here, or why wouldn't they be here? And you're taking a punt, like on all the information that you have. And when I'm taking a punt, I'm always half cocked. And what I mean by that is I'll go in very lightly. When I don't know what I'm doing, I go in lightly. And because I've gone in lightly, I haven't scared my swim. Something might show. But if I see something elsewhere, then I'll react and move to that. So, yeah, I would say it's all about evaluating every piece of information you have and making the best decision based on that.
Cool. Isaac has got a question about bait boats. Are they a worthwhile investment? I'm fishing a large lake, 1,100 acres, depths of over 60 foot, and often weedy in summer in the shallows and bays.
If they're allowed, you cannot compete. I don't care how good you are at casting. You can't do what a bait boat can do. Like, I know that I can do things with a bait boat, accuracy-wise, that I cannot do with casting. And it's not that I can't land a rig on a bin lid at 100 yards or more. It's not that I can't do that, but I can't always do it in one, and I can't always do it without any disturbance. Like the bait boat, the no splash, the no miscast, the no misbaiting, that is what makes the bait boat what it is. It's the absolute precision of hook bait and bait together with no disturbance. That's the one thing. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are at casting, you can't do that. You can't put like that handful of bait out with no splosh as quickly without disturbance. It just can't be done.
Patrick, I've never caught a fish on pop-ups. Any tips? I'm using the spinner rig.
You should be catching fish on that. You should, if I can't say why. Obviously some lakes I know they do prefer bottom baits. Like lakes like Gigantica, it's like almost folklore that they don't take pop-ups in there, yet they do. People catch plenty on pop-ups in the winter months. So I would say just persevere with it, because they work everywhere. Jim, I can't think of anywhere where I fish where they don't work. There's definitely waters where they work less well, and I would say that in this day and age where everyone's using spinner rigs, everyone's using hinge rigs, everyone's using bright pop-ups, I would say like using a duller bait on the bottom is probably an edge these days.
Yeah. Right, last question is from Thomas Pearce. I'm having some issues tying the combi multi-rig. The knot keeps slipping, but I followed the step-by-step guide to the letter. Have you got any tips to prevent this from happening?
Are you 100% sure you're using the materials that I mentioned? Because that slip D braid that is mentioned in that rig is very coarse and rough in texture, and that really helps that knot to bind. If you're not using that exact material, then you might need more turns with your knot. And say you do 4 turns down, like 4 turns with the 2 doubled over pieces, like so. I would then maybe make 2 or 3 back up, so that you're getting friction on 2 parts. It's like on the hook link and on the braid itself. And always make sure that when you're coming out of the loop, say this is the loop, you're always coming out in the same direction. So like both parts have to come out the same way, like the tag ends and the loop. But yeah, if you're using that material, you're using 4 turns, you'll be fine. If you're not using the right material, you might need more turns. And lastly, just make sure that your loop and your tag ends both exit the fluorocarbon loop in the same direction, not opposites.
Cool.
Yeah.
We've got half a question that's just come in from Dave.
Okay.
So we'll see if you can answer something,
Okay.
because it looks like he's not quite finished. I feel I'm ready to start a real campaign on my syndicate lake in Kent. I don't know how to do it. I've done so much in leading every swim to find features, and the lake is super difficult. So that's all I've got to play with. So
he's starting the campaign.
yeah.
You know, that it's really being consistent. Like the biggest thing that you can do in a big carp, if you look at all the best big carp anglers, when they come intensely for a period of time. You know, they might not be there all year, but when they do come, they come at the good times of year. Let's say April, May. They might come August, September, October, like those sort of times, and fish consecutive weeks. Because every time that you miss weeks, you don't know what's going on when you come back. The closer you are, the tighter your information, your learnings are together. You're always in pursuit of the activity. That, for me, it's all about the tracking of the fish around the pond, getting a handle on where they like to be at any given time. What are they doing? What areas are they using? What spots are they visiting? What conditions are causing them to move from one part of the lake to the other? You know, that is when I'm campaign fishing, I'm just constantly trying to stay in touch with what the stock is doing. Once I have that, once I have a handle on what they're doing, it's easy. You know, once I know what spot to fish, technically I can get my rig to the spot, fish the bait that I think will work on that spot. But for me, the campaign is always based around knowing what that stock is doing or having an idea of it, and it always comes good when you get that right. You know, just as a very a brief example, when I fished in Belgium on the low stock masterclass, I went for a 3-week session in September, and my tactic was to move around frequently, changing swims, looking for fish jumping, casting single pop-ups at them, because I'd done really well in June doing so. However, it worked in June, just after spawning. I caught lots of fish. However, when I went back for this 3-week session, the lake was busier with people taking the best swims, and I was constantly slotting in, and I'd move onto a fish that jumped, and then the fish would move, and I'd be trapped in a swim with no fish. On that session, I noticed that they were hanging around the middle of the lake a lot. I'd seen it over the last week of my session. They were really sort of focused in the middle. I thought, I'm going to come back for another 3 weeks in a week's time. I came back, got a central swim, filled it in with bait where I'd seen them, stayed in the same swim for 2 weeks, and caught loads. And that's just reading a situation, coming with an idea, realising you got it wrong, adjusting your plan, and then executing it and getting it right. So you're constantly making an adaptation, constantly trying to make a read on what's going on. Sometimes your read is good and you get it right, and sometimes you get it wrong and you have to make another read. You know, so that's the game of campaign fishing.
Beautiful. That's a nice way to end.
Yeah.
And our last one of 2025. We'll be back in 2026.
We'll be back in 2026.
I think we're going to try and do a special Stokesy one next month.
Yeah, good.
Which will be good.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get him in early January.
Yeah.
And that's it. So thank you for joining us. And we'll see you yeah,
See you in Jan.
in January. Have a nice Christmas and Happy New Year as well.
Happy Christmas, Happy New Year. Ciao.